The Red Cross has helped millions of people worldwide for both man-made and natural disasters. And although they've had their fair share of controversies, their lists for prepping are actually very helpful. Now, they have suggestions and links for all these items you can buy. However, I find that alternate items are actually going to be far fairer in price. So I'll go ahead and put links in the description below for each of those items. All right, so here we go. Here's the Red Cross's 15 items that you should have in case there's an emergency. Number 1, water. Of course, they suggest, like everybody else, you have 1 gallon per person per day. Now, they actually break it up. For a 3-day evacuation, 3 gallons of water, or if you're going to be at home, 14 gallons. However, if you click on the link, it's crazy. They have a case of 100 4-ounce emergency drinking waters for $47.99. But instead, if you want to buy your own jugs, they actually have these blue ones on sale. But even though they actually have a nice little spout on them, they're still kind of expensive as far as I'm concerned. You can actually get 55-gallon drums also, even from Amazon, and that holds a lot of water for people. Here's what we do. Whenever we have some kind of party in our family or house, we get these, and don't dog on me, I know they're extremely bad, these Hawaiian Punch different juices, and these are 1-gallon jugs. They're super sturdy, they have a handle for carrying, they're great. And we clean them out, wash them out, and fill them with water. And put some bleach in there to help preserve it, and we have tons of these in the basement, which shows how many Hawaiian Punch drinks we go through. And it's great, because this, except for buying this, in the first place, is actually going to be free. And if you want to add bleach, it's actually really simple. For 1 gallon of water, if you have the 6% bleach, concentration bleach, you actually have to add 8 drops. And if you have the 8.25% bleach, you actually have to add 6 drops. But I can't stress this enough, the bleach has to be unscented, and it has to be not the gel kind, the liquid kind. All right, so there you go. First thing is water, I agree, but you can save a lot of money going with this, or even this too, rather than what they recommend for their little pouches. Number 2, food. Same thing as the water. We're looking at for 3 days for evacuation, 14 days if you're actually stranded at home. So obviously everything for the Red Cross is short term. But I'll tell you right now, even though you click on their link, it doesn't even go to link food. It simply has like some kind of emergency pack. You can't go wrong with canned food. Specifically, more importantly, canned meats. They will, no matter what people tell you, they'll last, practically speaking, forever. Beans and stuff too. But the problem is this. Let's say you have a can of tuna that's 30 years old. It's still nutritious, but it's going to be like liquidy after that amount of time. So after a long time, they are not so appetizing, but they will still feed you. 30 years into apocalypse, I think you'll be fine eating watery tuna. So not fruits, but vegetables, cans of meat, beans, all those work well. When you come to fruits and acidic things like tomato paste and stuff, the cans will actually make the food taste metallic-y. It's still edible, completely edible, but these cans you can store too. It just may not taste as good. But without actually going to the Red Cross at all, obviously storing food is going to be one of your primary responsibilities anyway. And again, I could not recommend any more. You have a lot of meat, a lot of stored meat. Number 3, flashlights. The Red Cross has a clip-on light that can be powered by crank. That is very cool and smart. But to be honest, those crank things can be a pain after a while. But if you want a crank, here's a set of 2 with solar panels for a less price. Or another gizmo are these pack of 4 smaller ones that you actually squeeze. Much cheaper also. For a pack of 4, I recommend this. In addition to the squeeze, and actually even having some crank ones too, we just have tons and tons of these little cheapy flashlights that, even if you buy a multi-pack, as you can see here on Amazon, basically you can get a giant pack of them. They come to about $1 each. And of course, you actually have to put batteries in these, and the batteries can die, especially if you have kids. They love turning them on and leaving them around everywhere. But you should have an emergency stash separate from the ones that the kids play with anyway. But anyways, I like having the ones with batteries, and then for backup, in case crap hits the fan in long term, you can have the squeeze ones or the crank ones. Number 4, a radio. Here's a couple options that the Red Cross gives you. But if you do a little searching around, you can actually find a better deal, better price, and actually has more options, like this one right here. This one's really neat. And again, I'll put links below for all this stuff. This one not only has AM/FM radio, but it also has shortwave and the typical 7 NOAA weather bands as well. It has flashlights here. It has a reading light here, okay, which is all neat. Oh, it actually has a little siren too. You press it and it wails and irritates everybody. But the important things are this. This one actually has built-in lithium-ion batteries, so you can actually crank it if you want to. Charge up the batteries that way. Of course, if you're lazy enough, it has a solar panel on top as well. Or, to keep it maintained, there's a place where you can actually plug it in to charge it up that way as well. Furthermore, it actually has a jack, so when it is charged up, it can actually charge your cell phone. So literally, you can crank up this radio to charge your cell phone or any of the device you need to specifically, and there you go. This one, in my opinion, oh yeah, and actually one more thing too. Not only does it actually have the lithium-ion batteries, but you can actually put regular AA batteries in there as well, so that way you don't have to continuously just charge it, and you can decide between going with the lithium-ion batteries or the regular batteries in there, so that way you always have batteries, even in times when there's not an emergency. But this little radio I recommend. It pretty much has it all in one neat package. Oh, and even a little compass on top, which you'll probably never use. Number 5, extra batteries. Now, the Red Cross does not specify what batteries to have, AA's or AAA, C cells, D cells. It's up to you and the devices you have to power it. But what I do is I just buy them in bulk. I often find that there's actually a hardware store here called Menards or Best Buy, and they will often have these really good deals on these giant AA's and AAA's batteries, and I will simply just stock up. When you store them, keep them in a nice cool area like the basement, if you have one, or even in a refrigerator, and will hold the charge much longer. Number 6, Deluxe Family First Aid Kit. They have one that contains the basics. However, here's one that's twice the items at a lower price. Personally, I like building my own kits. I actually made these kits for everybody in the family to put in their backpacks. We like backpacking stuff. And it has a lot of the stuff in there. And what you find is you can actually buy things in bulk. Instead of one of the kits you buy may actually have like 4 of those 4x4 gauze pads. You can actually buy a big box of them individually wrapped and put some in each little kit, or have a lot to spare, and now multiply that times everything too. But having obviously first aid kits is really important. You'll save money by buying them in bulk and even actually making your own little kits as well. Future videos I'll put up as far as what you should have in the kits. But either way, right now to get started, you might want to go ahead and pick one up from Amazon or Walmart, and or at Red Cross too. And then you can start building up from there afterward. Number 7, medication and medical items. Now, obviously, they don't have a link for this either. They don't know what kind of medications you're on. They don't know everything. So go to your doctor and see about getting an extended prescription, or talk to an insurance company to see if you can actually have some of your medical supplies early and build up a stash that way too. So make sure you have your medication, whatever that might be. Number 8, a multi-purpose tool. And again, they don't have one on their website to recommend. And you can actually get them pretty inexpensive. I got a bunch of these from Cabela's. I think they were like $5. You can see it's a tiny one, but I bought a bunch for my kids. And this actually belongs to my 3-year-old, which is still in the package because I'm not giving it to him just yet. But anyways, they all have backpacks. I'll probably put it in the backpack eventually. But you have some people who actually get nothing but the Leathermans or the Gerbers. And I respect that because those are actually really good multi-tools. But having a multi-tool with a sharp knife and something that's sturdy is actually a recommendation. It's really good to have one. Number 9, personal hygiene items. Not much to say here. Pads, Depends, hygiene stuff. Yeah, it's to each their own. Whatever you need, stock up on them. Have them ready for a 14-day supply or longer. That's good advice. Number 10, personal documents. And yeah, you want to get that stuff ready. Obviously, you can't buy the documents from Amazon. If it is, you've been hacked. But instead, you can actually buy one of these bags. It's an 11 by 15 bag, and it's pretty neat. These things are actually waterproof and fireproof, and it expands out, has 2 pockets inside. And if you're on the run, on the go, house is flooding either way, keeping a lot of your important documents inside of these is exceedingly vital for the fact that you want to make sure you protect those documents, whatever they might be. Birth certificates, social security cards, everything, family photos, all that stuff, and even cash. These are actually recommended to keep money in as well. And again, I'll put in the link in the description below for this and the other stuff as well. But these are actually really nice, really handy, and holds everything for you so it doesn't get destroyed in some kind of catastrophe or disaster. Number 11, cell phones with chargers. Cell phones, obviously. The chargers, that's a different story. I like to use, instead of actually using those little bricks that actually hold power, which are great too, mind you, I actually have these little solar generators. This one's a nice one, but unfortunately they don't sell it anymore. In the link below, I'll put a different one that's actually very comparable. But this one will charge up your cell phones and stuff and actually keep them charged up for hours. It's nice and small, costs less than $100. However, this big one here can actually run for days. I've actually run my air conditioner with this thing, and which, if you didn't know, requires a lot of power. But these, of course, get pretty pricey. But what's nice about both of these is you can actually hook up like a solar panel to them, or you can plug these in your car if you're driving, or at home to charge them up. And when you run out of power with your car and driving and stuff, then these will actually provide the power for you and actually have multiple ways to connect to your devices as well, not just your cell phone. Furthermore, if you look at this picture, I have one of these solar panels as well. And if you're actually looking at bugging out with a backpack, these are nice because you can literally clip it right on your backpack and actually charge up your devices as you walk. So obviously just in the link for this one as well, but these things are really neat, but of course may not be as good as actually having one of these solar generators, which, there's so many different ones out there. This one is simply awesome, but again, it's simply pricey too. This one's nice and simple, and I'll put a different one below as well for you, but you might want to consider eventually investing in one of these if you don't have one already. Number 12, contact information. I recommend you actually take all the information you have about your family, names, addresses, birth dates, contact information, phone numbers and stuff, and put them in your bag. Why they put that with the other stuff, I'm not sure, but anyways, it's kind of like the same thing to me, but just make sure you have that contact information. Number 13, extra cash. I often get asked how much cash. Really, things that are happening right now, as much cash as you could possibly keep out of the bank and not be in trouble as far as paying bills, obviously. And when you store it at your house, do not just keep it in your bedroom. Hopefully you have a safe, a wall safe, or hidden locations to keep it in. And also, furthermore, denominations of $20 or less. Back in the Great Depression, the banks wouldn't release money. They didn't have it. It basically was not insured like it is today. Even then, I still wouldn't trust to understand, because banks will fail and cause problems. And then people were in big trouble because they couldn't get their money out because the money was basically like overnight gone. And furthermore, when the disaster happens, you're not going to be getting your money out either. Have you seen the pictures of Ukraine? They knew the Russians were coming. They were on the border for weeks. Then suddenly they invaded, and the lines at the banks and ATMs were a mile long. So try to keep as much cash out as possible, $20 bills or smaller. And if you are on the run with your cash, it sounds like you're a bank robber, but if you are on the run, don't put all the cash in one spot. Maybe some in your bag, some in your left shoe, some in your right shoe, in your underwear, in your pockets. Try to separate it out, because you don't want to get caught in a position where somebody does rob you and they think they might have it all, and you actually still have quite a bit left because you hid it in multiple locations. So have some cash aside, keep it with you just in case, and it's only going to be helpful if you do that. Number 14, emergency blanket. Here's the one the Red Cross sells. It's a nice blanket for the fact that it's not super thin and has two sides, reflective silver and orange. But it's a little on the pricey side. I found these ones also on Amazon, a pack of 5 for $14. So $2.80 each is half the price they're charging for theirs. And again, it's always good to have a bunch of them in stock. Even if you're just alone, having a few of these is really good. Again, we have one for each of our kids' backpacks as well as ours too. But just make sure you have one, especially if it has the orange on it, which not all of them do, which actually helps reflect to show where you're at. Of course, not always a good thing, but this reflective silver will also show where you're at too. But at least put the reflective silver toward you, and then the hunting orange, I guess you don't get shot while you're fleeing a disaster, I guess. Number 15, maps of the area. Yep, good old-fashioned paper maps. I used to live by these, but now, of course, with GPS, I guess I'd have to relearn. But I like maps like this, by the way. This one actually has fishing and hunting areas, as well as trails, creeks, where you're going to find fish. This is my kind of thing. But even if you don't have something like this, and you're going to be bugging out to a location, make sure you have the maps that's going to get you everywhere from point A to point B. You don't want to have it just for where you're at, but where you're absolutely going is essential. And don't depend on electronics for this at all. Even if there isn't an EMP and everything's going just fine, having an actual map like this, or at least just unfolded maps and such, it could be life and death. It really could. So make sure you have all the maps wherever you're going to be going to, have all that stuff scheduled ahead of time, you know, evacuation zones and everything. All right, there you go. There's the 15 things the Red Cross recommends. Furthermore, on their website, they actually have what they would put in their first aid kit and such. We'll go over videos like that as well in the future. But I want to go ahead and kind of show you that you can get a lot of this stuff, like the water jugs, for free. You don't even have to worry about buying some of the more expensive equipment they have. But I would actually go with their list. I think the Red Cross list, 2 thumbs up. As far as their price goes, maybe 1 thumb up and 1 down, I guess. I think a little bit on the pricey side, but you know what? Charitable organization, a nonprofit, maybe want to support their cause, and I completely get that and understand. But besides the 15 things, or actually even more specifically about those 15 things, what would you add to the list? What would you change? What kind of devices do you use? Put all that stuff in the description below. We want to go ahead and get a conversation going because I'm curious to see what you think about their list as well. All right, thanks for watching, and next up, this video right here, go ahead and check it out.